In California, Uber is once again finally getting the green light to start testing or self-driving cars.
This explosion was not an accident. Don't worry, no one was hurt. In fact, SpaceX and NASA blew up this Falcon 9 rocket to make sure no one gets hurt. The explosion was actually an in-flight abort test, and it's essential to making sure the Falcon 9 is ready to take people into space. Well, not this Falcon 9, of course. The Falcon 9 rocket is the world's first reusable orbital-class rocket, which means it's designed to deliver cargo to or beyond Earth's orbit and land safely back on Earth after each launch. In this case, that cargo is theoretically people. The rocket is made up of two parts: the Falcon 9 rocket itself and the Crew Dragon capsule. The capsule is designed to bring passengers to space, or at least it will if all of this testing is successful. SpaceX has been launching the Falcon 9 since 2010, but none of its missions have had humans aboard, just supplies for the International Space Station, satellites, and other cargo. Now, SpaceX is closer to flying human passengers than ever before.
Miko, Dragon launch escape initiated.
Dragons away!
Nearly a year in space, astronaut Christina Cook is finally back here on Earth.
Christina Cook, you're a record holder.
The rookie who set records flashed 2 thumbs up on her triumphant return to Earth. 328 days in space, a record for a woman. 5,200 orbits, 6 spacewalks, including the first American all-woman spacewalk.
Good morning, David. Welcome on board the International Space Station.
We had a chance to speak to Christina Cook as she prepared for today's return. What's been the hardest thing going more than 300 days in the station for you?
I think the challenge is actually remaining vigilant, remembering that you really are surrounded by a hostile environment, and that a single emergency or a single, set of string of failures could bring you into a chance where you have to exercise some of that really important training that we had on the ground. So just remembering how special it is here and focusing on everything that I have and not necessarily the things that aren't in my environment.
What a ride for this electrical engineer who once built space science instruments and did research at the Earth's poles before applying to become an astronaut.
The unifying theme has been discovery on the frontiers, which is why I'm so excited to be a part of the space program.
Part of the 2013 astronaut class, Cook had to learn how to fly, train to walk in space, and then finally last year,
And liftoff.
the nod to fly on the Russian Soyuz to the International Space Station. What was it like on the rocket? What was it like opening the hatch and getting into the station?
As we're preparing to launch, it feels a lot like one of our simulation events. And then the only difference was when the countdown got to 0, we actually started moving. I looked out the window and saw the Earth down below for the first time, and I actually exclaimed out loud, "Oh my goodness, we have trained for so many years to walk into the actual reality of the space station." Like, the fact that it actually exists it was like walking into a movie set.
But the station became her home for much longer than expected, NASA extending her mission, giving her the opportunity for those 2 records, duration and this.
Copy, Jessica and Christina.
That first all-female American spacewalk with Jessica Meyer.
This, after a series of mishaps and accidents, have led state officials to question the safety of these tests, as they should, right?
Well, isn't the whole point of a self-driving cars supposed to be, self-driving cars? Well, it was later revealed that Uber's driver-free cars weren't designed to recognize a pedestrian outside of a crosswalk, which is exactly what happened when a pedestrian jaywalked and was hit and killed. So backup drivers still have to be inside these driver-free vehicles and actually have to pay attention in case of an emergency. And Rick, critics who accuse companies like Uber of rushing to get these vehicles on the road say that the companies are not just yet equipped with the proper safety technology for public streets. And the blame also lies on the cities that are giving out these permits to the companies, even though the industry technology is not really doing enough to avoid another tragedy as they continue to test out cars in the real world. world. But since the incident in 2018, Uber has announced that they have modified their detection and tracking of pedestrians and cyclists and have improved their emergency braking systems. And although they have just received a permit in California, Uber has already restarted testing in Pittsburgh in December of 2018 and is planning to launch self-driving vehicles right here in Washington, D.C. by the end of this year.
We have a bit of training in machine learning. There are open source packages available online where somebody in first year could go and do that. It means that it's kind of democratized in the sense that anybody can access it.
Hi guys, it's Grace here. Thanks for watching today.
That is my voice, but not my face. This is an example of deep fake, a word that combines the terms deep learning and fake. It's an advanced form of artificial intelligence, which can be used to manipulate faces and voices, making the process of creating fake identities and spreading false information much easier. The technology is threatening to undermine the credibility of almost everything we see online, from mobile apps that can seamlessly transpose people's faces into blockbuster movies to fake statements made by public figures like Barack Obama and Mark Zuckerberg. The technology makes things that never happen appear entirely real.
Even if they would never say those things.
As a consumer, you're going to be watching something, you're not necessarily going to know if this is real or not.
Deepfake technology leverages on a deep learning system to produce a persuasive counterfeit. This is done through studying photographs and videos of a target person from multiple angles, and then mimicking the subject's behavior and speech patterns.
Technology like this has the potential to affect our elections and jeopardize our personal safety, which is why many companies are springing up to battle the cyber threat.
The challenge with this is that it's almost impossible to regulate. This is something that people can actually develop on their own. To ban it seems to be a bit of a stretch because you want to be able to do that to generate movies, to do animations. You know, you have a video with a stuntman and you want to change the face to some actor, right? Malicious use are kind of difficult to discriminate in terms of the actual technology that is used to generate them. Time we'll see more clearly what is the threat, and then people can actually devise countermeasures.
Turn to technology and 5G. As today, the United Kingdom announced it will allow the Chinese communication giant Huawei to take part in the country's next 5G mobile network. On the UK to not do this. We're also talking about Brexit's going to be happening here in the next 2 days. What does this mean for the US-UK relationship?
Well, Scotty, the UK is defying U.S. warnings, and it's not looking too well. It could actually strain the two countries' relationship. Now, the UK government said that it will not ban equipment made from Huawei, which will take part in building its new high-speed 5G wireless network with some restrictions.
That we never have had and never will have high-risk vendors in our most sensitive networks, and that this decision has no effect on our ability to share intelligence with our allies. He set out the steps the UK government will take to rectify this. Will he agree with me that it is essential that our Five Eyes partners, all our Five Eyes allies, are willing to work with us and other like-minded countries to ensure the very market diversification that is in all our interests in the long term?
All right, President Trump is known as the first billionaire in the White House, but soon another billionaire is coming to Washington. In fact, Jeff Bezos is the world's richest man, and he's mad about Amazon losing the Pentagon cloud contract to Microsoft. As Amazon HQ2 is set to launch in early 2021, this week, Amazon Web Services released a statement saying they want to depose President Trump and SecDef Mark Esper in their lawsuit over the loss of this $10 billion contract, better known as JEDI.
Amazon is claiming here is going to have to go a lot further than just hearsay, right? Because that's all it's been so far. Is the president has made statements in the past that indicated that he wanted the Defense Department and the Pentagon to look into the JEDI contract and the way it was being distributed, and being essentially put out for bid. And Bezos says because of that, see, the president put his thumb on the scale and he rigged this against Amazon. But here's the truth of it. The truth is that there were four companies that were bidding on this. There was Amazon and Microsoft. Microsoft ended up with the award at the end. There was also Oracle and IBM. During the actual process where this thing went out to bid, two of those companies, IBM and Oracle, actually filed complaints with the Department of Defense and the Pentagon saying saying this contract is rigged for Amazon. They thought, and everyone thought Amazon was going to get it, right? So they were very upset about this idea. And essentially, at the core of it, was this belief that Amazon was the only one that was big enough to do this, and they had favor. And Amazon thought up until the last minute they were getting it. They were surprised when they didn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of people speculated that, Ben, because HQ2 was coming right across, literally across the street from the Pentagon.
I want to examine a service that has seemed to explode, and it's captured the imagination of consumers. It seems like you just can't even turn on your TV these days, right? Without seeing a commercial for one of these companies that's promising to tell you everything you need to know about your ancestry. There are tons of them. And by the way, there are real questions about how accurate they really are. There are people who've taken different tests and ended up with different ancestries.
We're looking at 23andMe, and what they're doing with that information is they're cashing in, to put it plainly. 23andMe is licensing a drug to Spain's largest pharmaceutical company. This is an antibody that's been identified to treat psoriasis and some other inflammatory diseases, and it was synthesized using the DNA of its customers, right? So this is actually the first time that the company has sold a product directly created from the genetic data of its customers, but this was actually the company's goal the entire time, right? To profit from drug development. Now, just as some background, let's talk about 23andMe. It's a DNA testing company, right? Founded in 2006, and we all know it, and I think you maybe in the past mentioned that you even did it, right? You just spit in a vial, the company looks at your DNA, and then you find out things like about your ancestry, maybe about some health risks that you may be prone to. But 23andMe now hosts the world's largest genetic database. So since its launch, over 10 million people have done this, right? They've spit in a vial, they've given their DNA to this company. And also, what's interesting is that if several of your close relatives have done 23andMe, then chances are the company actually has already anything that it might need on you. You don't have to do it yourself. So if enough of your relatives have done it, then it actually has your genetic information as well. Now let's talk about consent, because the company does say that over 80% of its customers did consent for their DNA to be used for biomedical research. But if you think about the concept of consent when it comes to biomedical research, usually an academic institution will walk through, the subjects, walk through the consent documents with them to make sure that they're understood. But when it comes to 23andMe, this is really done just on a few clicks of a screen. So it's chances are that people aren't actually reading all of those documents. And also, 23andMe may ask for your permission, but the company actually states that its work does not constitute research on human subjects. So this loophole allows it to not be subject to the same regulations regarding privacy and consumer welfare that it may otherwise be.